All right, welcome to another deep dive. We're going to be stepping into some pretty fascinating territory today. We're talking about spiritual seekers and the gurus they find.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so we're taking a look at this captivating chapter from Pasted Text, and it reads like a personal journal, you know?
Okay.
And get this, you're about to hear about, well, a yogi who could conjure perfumes, like, on demand.
Wow.
A sage just dispensing wisdom amidst all the craziness of a temple, and this author's just relentless quest for something more.
You know, what's fascinating to me about this chapter is that it presents us with these two contrasting figures who just embody, like, different aspects of spiritual understanding.
Yeah.
And it really prompts us to consider, you know, what we value in a mentor or guide and what true spiritual depth even means, you know?
Absolutely. All right, so let's dive right in. The author kicks things off with this chance encounter with the figure known as the Perfume Saint.
Okay.
Gandha Baba. Picture this, the author sitting there, skeptical as can be, and Gandha Baba materializes the scent of roses right in his palm.
No way.
Then he takes like a scentless flower and boom, it's radiating this jasmine aroma.
Oh, wow.
The author even describes a feast where Gandha Baba infused the bread with the scent of tangerines.
That's incredible. Sounds like something out of a fantasy novel, you know?
Right?
But the question that comes to my mind is, are these feats, you know, genuine displays of divine power or some sort of clever tricks or something else entirely, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, imagine being able to conjure the scent of your favorite flower whenever you wanted.
Right.
But the author starts to wonder, what's the point? Like, why spend years mastering scents when you can just, you know, buy them at a shop?
Right, right.
He even questions if these abilities could be used to help those in need rather than just entertain.
That's where it gets really interesting, because the author's questioning reveals that he's not just looking for someone who can perform miracles.
Right.
He's seeking a guru who embodies genuine wisdom, someone who can offer real spiritual guidance. And this desire leads him to question the very nature of miracles themselves. You know, are they just distractions
Right.
from true spiritual seeking, or can they be a pathway to something deeper?
Yeah, I mean, the annotation in the text suggests that Gandha Baba might have manipulated these lifetrons to achieve these feats.
Oh, life trance.
And I had to look that one up myself, you know. Apparently, there are these subtle life forces that, according to some esoteric traditions, can be manipulated to alter the vibratory structure of matter.
It's a fascinating concept, you know, and it connects to this broader discussion about the intersection of science and spirituality.
Right.
Even if we can explain these phenomena scientifically, it doesn't necessarily diminish their spiritual significance, right?
Yeah, it reminds me of those debates, you know, about whether science disproves the existence of God. Some people believe it does, while others just see science as another way of understanding the divine. I guess it all comes down to your perspective.
Exactly. And in the context of the author's journey, it's clear he's seeking something beyond just the spectacle of miracles. He wants a guru who can guide him toward true spiritual growth, not just outward displays of power.
Right, which brings us to his encounter with the unnamed sage at Calicut Temple.
Right.
This is where things take a completely different turn. Imagine this bustling, chaotic temple, and amidst all the commotion, the sage just calmly states, "God is simple, everything else is complex. Do not seek absolute values in the relative world of nature."
Now that's something to ponder, right?
I think the sage is really highlighting the importance of introspection and self-awareness as like the path to wisdom.
Right, right.
You know, he contrasts this, what he calls exquisitely painful approach to wisdom, with what he calls self-expression, which he believes leads to egotism and a distorted view of truth. Right?
So it's not about shouting your truths from the rooftops. It's about looking inward and understanding yourself first.
Precisely. And this introspection, as the sage suggests, can be a challenging process.
Yeah, I bet. It requires us to confront our own biases, limitations, and shadow selves, you know?
It makes me wonder, though, how does this introspection translate into action in the world? Like, if we're so focused on self-scrutiny, do we ever get anything done?
That's a great question.
I struggle with that sometimes, feeling like I need to, like, analyze everything before I can make a move.
And I think the sage would argue that this inward journey is actually essential for developing compassion and understanding.
Okay.
You know, he explains how recognizing our own flaws and the shared human tendency for selfishness can lead to humility and empathy.
I see.
It's about seeing ourselves in others and recognizing the universality of the human experience.
So in a way, the sage is suggesting that by understanding ourselves more deeply, we can actually connect with others on a more genuine level.
Exactly.
Instead of getting caught up in our own dramas, we see the bigger picture and recognize the interconnectedness of all things. That's quite beautiful.
And it ties back to the author's search for a guru, right? He's looking for someone who embodies this kind of wisdom and depth, not just someone who can perform parlor tricks. He's on a quest for genuine spiritual connection and guidance.
And it's fascinating how these two contrasting encounters happen on the same day. It's almost like the universe was presenting the author with a choice. The path of outward spectacle or the path of inner transformation.
Yeah, what's intriguing is that despite encountering both the perfume saint and this wise sage, the author still feels this sense of incompleteness,
Right.
He hasn't found that resonant connection with a guru that he's yearning for.
Right.
He even mentions this talkative acquaintance who leads him to Gandha Baba, and you get the feeling he's been searching for a while,
Yeah.
exploring different paths, and yet something is still missing.
It makes you wonder what he's truly looking for, right?
Right.
I mean, if miracles and profound wisdom aren't enough, what more could he want?
Well, the source material gives us a clue. The author explicitly states that he's searching for a guru who leads by sublimity of example, a true measure of spiritual depth.
Wow.
He's seeking something beyond words and outward displays, a guide who embodies the essence of what it means to live a truly enlightened life.
So it's about finding a guru who walks the walk, not just talks the talk.
Exactly.
But where does he go from here? I'm dying to know if he finds this elusive guru and what qualities he ultimately values in a spiritual guide.
I guess we'll have to delve deeper into the source material to find out.
All right. Okay, so we've got these two contrasting encounters, the perfume saint with his flashy displays, and then the sage advocating for deep introspection.
Yeah.
They both kind of offer these glimpses into the spiritual world, but in totally different ways. What stands out to you about these two figures?
It's almost like they represent, two paths, right? Gandha Baba, even if his powers were totally real, seems focused on a material, on, manipulating the world around him.
Right.
The sage, on the other hand, is all about inner transformation, about understanding the very nature of self.
And that makes me think about the sage's advice to not seek absolute values in the relative world of nature, right? It's a tricky concept. Isn't everything we experience part of the natural world? How can we separate ourselves from it to find these absolute truths?
That's where the introspection comes in.
Okay.
The sage isn't saying to reject the physical world, but rather to recognize that our perceptions of it are colored by our own biases, our ego.
Right.
By looking inward, we can start to peel away those layers and get closer to a more fundamental truth.
So instead of getting caught up in the fleeting pleasures of, say, a conjured up perfume,
Right.
we should be focusing on cultivating inner peace and understanding.
Precisely. And that ties back to the author's dissatisfaction,
Yeah.
Even after witnessing these incredible feats and receiving this wise advice,
Yeah.
he's yearning for a guru who embodies that inner transformation, who leads by example rather than just words or spectacle.
I can totally relate to that feeling of searching, there was this time where I was totally lost in my career. Felt like I was on the wrong path. I read all these self-help books, even went to a few motivational seminars.
Oh, wow.
But nothing really clicked. It wasn't until I started meditating regularly, really looking inward, that things started to shift for me.
It sounds like you were looking for that external validation, that quick fix,
Yeah.
right? When what you really needed was to connect with your own inner wisdom. It's a common trap we all fall into, right? Seeking answers outside ourselves when the truth often lies within.
Yeah, and the author, even with these incredible experiences, seems to be realizing the same thing. He even mentions how his heart needs no tutor for its recognitions. It's like he's waiting for that gut feeling, that undeniable pull toward a true mentor.
Right, that intuition is so important.
Right.
We can be swayed by charisma, by those who appear wise or powerful.
Yeah.
But true guidance often comes from a really unexpected source.
Speaking of unexpected, the source material mentions the author fleeing towards the Himalayas earlier in his life.
Oh, wow.
With a companion, right?
Yeah.
Makes you wonder what happened there and how that experience shaped his search for a guru.
It definitely suggests a deep-seated yearning for spiritual exploration, wouldn't you say? He's not just dabbling in spirituality. This is a core part of who he is.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating how the text kind of hints at the challenges inherent in such a quest, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't immediately stumble upon his guru,
Right.
but rather spends like 2 years encountering these various spiritual figures before finding the right one.
So even for someone actively seeking, finding a genuine guru isn't like a walk in the park.
Right.
There's this process of trial and error of like honing your intuition and figuring out what truly resonates with your soul.
And I think that's such a valuable takeaway, right?
Yeah.
For anyone on a similar journey, whether it's spiritual or not, finding the right mentor, the right guide, requires patience, discernment, and a willingness to trust your own inner compass.
It reminds me of that saying, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
Yeah, exactly.
But it sounds like the author is putting in the work.
Yeah.
Actively seeking, not just passively waiting. He's learning from each encounter, even the ones that don't quite hit the mark.
Exactly. And I think that's where the real growth happens, right? In those moments of questioning, of wrestling with different ideas and perspectives.
Right.
It's through that struggle that we refine our understanding and become more discerning seekers.
And it makes the eventual meeting with his guru all the more impactful. Speaking of which, I'm so curious to hear more about this guru, this guru who taught by sublimity of example. What can you tell us about this mysterious figure?
Well, unfortunately, the chapter we're exploring doesn't delve into the specifics of their relationship.
Oh, man.
It primarily focuses on these earlier encounters to kind of illustrate the author's evolving understanding of what makes a true guru.
Oh, that's such a tease.
Yeah.
But I guess that's part of what makes this journey so compelling, right?
Right.
It leaves us wanting more, encourages us to keep exploring.
Precisely. But even without knowing all the details, we can still glean some valuable insights from the author's description.
Okay. All right, lay it on me. What kind of insights are we talking about?
Well, remember how the author contrasts, the marvelous abilities of Gandha Baba with the sublimity of example embodied by his chosen guru?
Yeah.
That suggests a deliberate shift in focus, right?
Right.
A prioritization of inner qualities over outward displays.
So it's not about the flashiness, the miracles, or even the intellectual brilliance. It's about the essence of the person,
Right.
The way they live their life, the values they embody.
Exactly. It speaks to the idea that, true spiritual leadership isn't about performing tricks or having all the answers.
Yeah.
It's about embodying a way of being,
Yeah.
a way of moving through the world that inspires and uplifts others.
I love that. It's about walking the walk, not just talking the talk. And it makes me think about the mentors I've had in my own life.
Yeah.
The ones who have truly impacted me weren't necessarily the most famous or successful.
Right.
But they are the ones who lived with integrity, kindness, and authenticity.
Absolutely. And it's such a powerful reminder for all of us,
Yeah.
regardless of whether we're seeking a spiritual guru or just, looking for mentors and guides in our lives. We can be so easily swayed by charisma or perceived success.
Yeah.
But true wisdom often resides in those who lead with humility, compassion, and integrity.
Well said. So while the source material doesn't, reveal the identity of the author's guru or delve into their teachings, it does leave us with this lingering sense of possibility.
Yeah.
The author found what he was seeking, a guide who resonated with his deepest yearning.
And that's what's so inspiring about this journey, wouldn't you say?
Totally.
It's an invitation to embark on our own explorations, to be open to, unexpected encounters.
Yeah.
And to trust that the right guides will appear when the time is right.
Absolutely. But it's also a call to action, isn't it? To cultivate our own inner wisdom, to strive to live by example so that maybe, just maybe, we can become the kind of guides others are seeking.
Now, that's a thought-provoking way to, end this part of our deep dive.
Right.
What do you say we wrap things up and encourage our listeners to continue exploring this fascinating topic on their own?
Sounds good to me. All right, so we journeyed with this author through encounters with the perfume saint and the sage at Kalihat Temple.
Right.
And witnessed his evolving understanding of what he was really seeking, in a guru.
Yeah.
But the chapter ends before we actually meet this guru who teaches by example.
Right.
It's like getting to the climax of a movie and then cut to black.
I know, right? It's almost frustrating, but in a way, it's also brilliant, don't you think?
Yeah.
It forces us to kind of reflect on the journey itself, on that process of seeking and discerning, rather than getting caught up in the destination.
It's like he's saying, hey, The search for wisdom, for guidance, that's something we all engage in. And it's not always about finding that one perfect guru on a mountaintop. It's about cultivating that inner discernment, recognizing the qualities of true leadership wherever we find them.
Exactly. And think about how this ties back to the contrast between Gandha Baba and the sage, right?
Yeah.
One offers spectacle, the allure of the extraordinary, while the other points us inward, towards self-knowledge and understanding. The author is drawn to both,
Right.
but ultimately realizes that true spiritual depth isn't about outward displays.
It's like choosing between a dazzling fireworks show and a quiet, starlit night.
Ooh, I like that.
Both have their beauty, but one speaks to a deeper, more profound sense of awe.
What a beautiful analogy. And I think that's what the author is ultimately seeking in a guru. Someone who embodies that quiet, enduring wisdom, who guides by example rather than pronouncements or miracles.
It makes you wonder, like, what would that even look like in everyday life, right? How does someone teach by sublimity of example?
I imagine it's less about, grand gestures and more about the subtle nuances of how they navigate the world.
Right.
Their compassion, their integrity, their way of responding to challenges, with grace and equanimity. All of these qualities would be evident in their actions, in their very being.
So it's not about seeking someone who has all the answers, but rather someone who embodies a way of being that we aspire to. It's like they become like a living, breathing example of the principles they teach.
And I think that's a powerful message for all of us,
Yeah.
whether we're on like a spiritual path or not. We can all strive to be that kind of example for others, right? To embody those qualities we admire in our own mentors and guides.
It's like paying it forward, right?
Yeah.
We learn from those who inspire us, and in turn, we can inspire others, by living authentically and striving to be the best versions of ourselves.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe by embodying those qualities, we'll even attract the right mentors into our own lives.
Oh, wow.
Those who resonate with our deepest values and aspirations.
It's like a beautiful cycle, isn't it? Learning, growing, and inspiring others along the way. And even though this chapter, leaves us with a bit of a cliffhanger, it also empowers us to continue the search on our own terms.
Well said. So, dear listeners, as you continue your own journeys, remember that the search for wisdom and guidance, that's a deeply personal one. Be open to unexpected encounters, trust your intuition, and never stop seeking those who embody the qualities that resonate with your soul.
And if this deep dive has, sparked your curiosity, we encourage you to pick up a copy of Pasted Text and just explore, like, the author's full journey. Who knows? You might even discover your own perfume saint or wise sage along the way.
Thanks for joining us today. Until next time, keep diving deep.
See you next time.
Thank you for listening till the end. Please subscribe, turn on the notifications, like, comment, and share with your friends. This will help more listeners to discover our channel and content.